started then. Hey, good evening. Thanks for joining us here at the Directors Panel. My name is Phil Riggle. I'm the Director of Ponyville Live, although I'm not on the panel, I'm just sort of hosting it. And we're joined by two people who are involved very heavily in the creative and execution process of the My Little Pony genius that is. Here we're joined by Jayson Thiessen.
Hello. All right.
And also Big Jim Miller.
Hello.
So I thought we'd follow the the pretty standard format here. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you see yourselves in 5 years. Your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, exactly.
Well, as you all know, I'm Jayson Thiessen. I'm supervising director of My Little Pony from seasons 1 through now. I've also made it to co-executive producer.
Ooh, primo.
I also directed the Equestria Girls movie, which I hope you all liked.
Everyone tells us they like it to our faces.
Yes. After that, I don't know. I've been in the animation industry since like 1998 in Vancouver. Working pretty steady throughout, which is like a blessing because not everyone can claim that. And we've been very fortunate in Vancouver to have a lot of work, so it keeps me busy. Yeah, so.
Well, you know my name because it was said earlier. I worked on Ed and Eddie for 10 years. After that finished up, I went over to DHX and I did a few other things there, and then transitioned to doing one board at the end of season 1 of Pony to fill in for someone who left. Fool. Then was promoted to board supervisor for seasons 2 and 3 and the first Equestria Girls movie, and then Woody decided to move on to other things, and I was lucky enough to be bumped up to co-director for season 4. So that's
He's been under my thumb ever since.
Yeah. So I am animatronically puppeted by Jayson.
He's my left foot.
So we owe you both a big debt of gratitude for season 4 then.
And cash.
And cash. And lump sums of non-consecutive numbered bills delivered to you.
We set up a Swiss bank account. The number is under everyone's chair.
I am accepting Bitcoin. Because it's worth so much now.
I was going to say, yeah.
You should have heard me talk about Bitcoin before when it was starting. It was like, I'm thinking of starting on some cool, maybe get into mining and stuff. That was pretty cool. And then as soon as you start talking about it,
it's my fault.
Thank you.
You jinxed it. Yeah, for everybody.
Good.
Good. Well, so first of all, we're going to open this up to everybody out there for questions. We obviously have a packed house here of people who are very interested to learn more about what you do.
Appreciate that.
yes, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for coming out.
Well, let's start this off by just, what would you say you do here?
Here? At the con?
Yeah, first of all, how are you experiencing the con so far?
Oh, I love it. It's always a good time coming to
I'm experiencing it through all of my senses.
Right.
My eyes are seeing the people. My ears are.
You're not going to go through all that.
You're going to get the smell.
It's over.
Yeah, sometimes that's the one sense you wish you could turn off. But that's true of any con.
I also wish I could turn off my pinky sense.
Ooh. Why would you want to turn that off? Because then you're going to get hit by an anvil or something.
I don't know, right? When things are predicted, it's like Minority Report.
I'd rather have cheesy sense. Because then I'd always know where the greatest
part is. Oh, right, yeah, cheesy sense, right. Okay. I almost forgot.
So, what was the question again?
I don't remember.
What was it that I do here?
What was it? Yeah, what is it that you do here?
Well, on
both
the
at this
show.
convention, but on the show.
Everyone grab your blankets and a pillow, because this is going to be boring.
Yeah, it will be boring. As director, we take the scripts and as they're written and approved by Hasbro, and We occasionally give notes and things like that to help, develop the visual aspect.
The writers are great. They don't need a ton of help from us, but every once in a while we're like, remember that one episode? They did that thing, so maybe let's change this one little thing.
They don't have hands.
Yeah, that's
It's just a common thing that happens sometimes. But, they've written in, something's written in that requires someone to pick it up. And we're like, how are we going to do this?
That person is not a unicorn.
Yeah.
They do not have magic, and having them hold something like this doesn't work so well.
Please don't drop them.
It's a really dramatic demonstration.
Well,
so anyway, we take from there, we go on to the design phase, and we'll look through the script and figure out everything that needs to be designed for that particular episode.
Let's skip the stage.
Which?
Voice record.
No, actually we started.
Oh, that's right. We did. Guys, I'm new at this job.
But basically we oversee all the aspects.
A lot of things are going on concurrently.
Yeah.
So we're looking at designs while those are happening and giving feedback and saying like, no, make the hair poofier. And then we're also going down to the records and saying, Andrea, come on, you can do better than that.
Calm down, Andrea. A little less excitement.
And then we have to sit down with Daniel and go, better. And
more cowbell.
More cowbell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony better.
There's so many aspects to it, and every month there's a new department starting. So once scripts are done, we go through design and voice records, and then we got to do storyboards, and then we add in editing, animatics, and
animation reviews, mixing, sound effects, and music.
So, and it's like this one big.
But it's not like one after another. Everything's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a script for an episode at the end of season 4 while we're designing an episode a little bit earlier than that, while we're looking at storyboards an episode a little bit earlier than that. Like it's all layered over top of each other. So some days we're literally running from room to room to room.
There's at any given time we're about 7 episodes at once. In various aspects of that episode. So we had to switch our minds, I walk into your room, what episode is this again? Oh, that one, okay, that one's about Discord, and he's gonna, okay, got it. Sometimes it's not.
I know.
My iPhone is a huge asset. Without it, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing.
And we're usually about 8 weeks ahead of the air date. So we saw an episode today, we finished that about 8 weeks ago.
Right, yeah. But we've been working on it for the better part of a year.
Right.
So it's like a year of a good line of 7 or 8 or 10 episodes all moving down a conveyor belt at different stages as the next 10 are coming in behind it. Yeah. And then, if another season is approved, we'll start that right in behind that. So there's a new one's coming down the pipe. And you got to start all over again, go back to the scripts and look at that while we're doing the final mixes of the previous season.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Lucy in the Chocolate Factory.
We always have a mouthful of chocolate.
Yeah, it's this episode,
literally, as well. I ate a lot of chocolate.
You had a Pinkie Pie reference to that, wasn't it?
Yes, eating
that
the
was
cherries
fun.
in the last round.
I really liked
it. It was
seeing
actually
that.
just a depiction of your job title.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's quite a tight schedule, but that's TV, and we just we're getting better and better at accommodating it and getting more efficient. And
we also have an amazing crew and amazing production staff that, you guys never get to meet these people.
Yeah, our producers
and the production
manager, coordinator.
These guys and girls,
they make it all run
super hard, and we would be a complete mess without them.
Yes, we don't know what the heck we're doing half the time. In terms of what am I doing today? I don't know. Leslie, can you tell me? And then okay, don't forget, you got to go to the voice record at this time, that, and it just keeps us in check and on schedule and on time, because otherwise you'd still be waiting for season 4. I want to tweak this one more thing. Don't send it out.
I don't know what we do. We call that the hiatus.
Yeah,
we call it the gap between the episodes.
It isn't a hiatus.
Can we do a little something applause for all our production and staff.
Truly the unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, so you mentioned you have an 8-week timeline?
No, that's
8 weeks. Sorry, 8 weeks after the
air,
the
delivery
of the episode.
That's
roughly.
Like this season, that's been roughly how it's been.
Yeah. Have you ever cut it close?
No, we're awesome.
No. You're always on time.
Oh.
No, the schedule is designed in such a way that you can't cut it close, because even once we're done with the episode, like we're like, hey, it's good to go. It goes to Hasbro and they have their round of quality control, and then they have to go and decide what they're gonna release for promo stuff and send it out, all the little teasers and things to the TV guide and all that stuff. So it has to be there when it has to. The show just deadline, and we can't really miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when they're doing those little TV commercials and stuff, do they just put all those together, or do you?
Yeah.
Oh no, they do all that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we see it the same time you guys.
And we do a lot of this.
I was going to say, you know, don't show it. They spoil a lot in those little trailers sometimes.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Jason's talking to them about it.
I brought that up, but they have a good point. Like they know, you know, certain fans like you guys are going to watch the show, and they're very happy about that.
You've already been brainwashed.
They want
good to go.
They're looking for the newer viewers, and they're trying to like entice them by showing them a piece of the show that's interesting. And yeah, unfortunately, it might give away a few things. Like if it was up to us, you wouldn't see.
You wouldn't know what it was called.
You wouldn't know the title until
Is it even on? You go like, what's going on?
Yeah. What a surprise! I just happened to catch it. So maybe we wouldn't be good.
That's why we direct the show. We don't market the show.
Yeah. You know, they want to promote it and put it up there so you guys know what's coming and you want to see it.
Yeah, I can just imagine the surprise if you didn't tell people episode names until the day they aired, and they're just waiting for that title card to see what pun you're going to use.
Well, I just wonder what everyone would do with all their free time. Because there's really so much speculation, and you guys like pre-writing episodes before they come. Oh, this totally means
that's
this
dangerous.
Back, and he's gonna like fist fight Twilight.
If this doesn't happen in the episode, I'm gonna be really mad. It's like, sorry, that wasn't what we wrote, but, you know.
But you know, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah. I guess that's part of the fun, right?
We got 30 minutes a show every week, and the rest we just got to fill with other stuff.
That's true.
So I suppose we'll open the floor to questions, and the way that these two have opted to do it is a bit of a unique approach. So bear with us here. So
should we explain how this is?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jason and I were talking earlier. You know, it's never fun to say like, you can't ask us about this, you can't ask us about that. So we've decided that you can ask us whatever you want. Whatever you want. But if we deem it to be a dumb or inappropriate question, we will publicly shame you. So be forewarned. And you won't know where those limits are. So, you want to roll the dice? Let's play a game.
You are a dangerous man.
I am a force of nature.
Don't let that scare anybody from asking. Oh, see, now everybody's terrified. Nobody wants
This is going to be a real short panel.
Matt's got a question.
All right.
Is there a difference in directing a 3-hour movie and a 22-minute episode?
3-hour movie? Who's making that movie? You directed the 3-hour movie?
Or the Rings Pony
No. Although maybe you just string all the episodes together. Yeah, that's fine.
One does not say
I understand. Yeah, it's definitely different. Like 22 minutes, you only really get a certain, like, you have to get to the point, you know. Like, between each act, between the commercial breaks, you only really get about 7 to 10 minutes. And if you take more than that, then you're going to have to shorten something else. So you got to wrap things up and do a nice little cliffhanger at the end of the teaser, or at the end of the act. So all that has to happen in that time. And then at the end, you have to like, well, we've set up all this stuff. We got 22 minutes, 13 seconds, and 16 frames. We got to get, and there's no
more
side.
Like this one's going to be 2 minutes longer because it's cool.
No. And so sometimes we got to be like, well, you know what, I really wanted more here, but that's got to go. You know, we just have to cut stuff.
Right. Well, I think we've talked on panels before. Like we use the term at the office. We got to kill some babies. It's really tough because you fall in love with these jokes or these moments, and you're like, ugh, it's so funny, it's so cool. Man, but it doesn't have anything to do with the story. No time. But I love this baby. But I love the baby. Go. Bye, baby. That was a very bad. Do not keep that.
Now, as terrible as that reference may seem, though, it is in a way your babies after having spent so much time with
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think sometimes people realize that Jayson and I sit with this thing the longest. Like, not year. Like, it's like 8 months to a year for each episode.
That's longer than the term of delivering.
Yeah. Pretty much. We do birth and lot of babies. 26 years. We are baby making.
But then to further answer your question before we move on, when you go to a longer format, you don't have to sacrifice those moments as much.
You can nurture those babies.
You got more time to play those things out, and it's a real pleasure to be able to like sit there and like, oh, I just want to hold on this moment and let it really sink into her, and then move on. Like it gives you more gravity to be able to build up to.
You should have seen the glee in his eyes when we were doing Equestria. He was like, what? I can hold on this shot?
Yeah.
I can play this emotion a little bit longer?
I've done 7-minute episodes, and that's just brutal. Because that's what Puka was. It was a show called Puka.
Yeah.
There was a couple seasons of that, and it was really tough because they were sometimes very epic storylines. And I'd be like, I can't fit this in 7 minutes. So things that I really wanted to do, I had to let go or just do a lot faster, and became very frenetic and fast, and almost too much. And then so we got Pony. It was 22 minutes. I was like, thank God, I get to do something.
That felt like an eternity. I'm
sure. But then that ends up being kind of short-lived.
It has its own set of challenges.
So. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Next question over here.
Me?
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Awesome. Tell me about the art of cold calling. Who you should go about contacting and how you should go about presenting yourself.
Like as a telemarketer?
No.
The art of cold calling.
As I say, maybe like.
If you're calling a studio and saying, give me a job.
No, more like an intern, to be exact.
I don't know, because we haven't had to do that. We were lucky enough. I mean, Jayson and I were both in film school around the same time, so we've known each other for like almost 15, 20 years. Sounds a long time. And the industry in Vancouver is small enough that someone like he was over at DHX, and then when I ended up there, him and Woody had worked with me before, and they're like, oh, we should get you on the show. Like, it's not a particularly difficult thing once you're in it. And I've told a story about when I started at AKA, I had done a storyboard test, and I was visiting a friend after I had submitted the test who worked there already, and she's like, did you get a call to come in on Monday? And I'm like, no. Oh, well, I think they're going to call you, so just come in on Monday. I never got a phone call, but I did show up on Monday, and they did put me to work. And I worked there for 10 years. So maybe just show up. It worked for me.
If you had a crowd outside the studio next week,
I know. Everyone usually get arrested 99 times. Get on the job.
Get a hard hat and one of those old-timey lunch boxes, and when the other minions are walking in, you just join the line, keep your head down, and just no one will ever notice. I don't know. That's all.
It's all on your head.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to make some phone calls to HR.
Watch out for hard-hat people.
This is always a hard question to answer because every person who's in the industry has a very different story.
Yeah.
It's unique to them. I always tell people, like, just phone the studio and ask the question, like, how do you guys like to receive submissions?
Yeah.
Do you have interns? Like, if they have a general information email on their webpage, you can ask a question, just say, like, do you accept interns? If they say no, then don't call them. Because then you're not going to convince them otherwise if they don't do it.
Can you accept it?
Yeah.
Have you considered changing your intern provider?
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, the practices down here in the States might be different in Canada, too.
Right. And speaking of which, anybody, and a lot of people kind of dream of getting a job in Vancouver after spending time in the pony world, but the thing is, Vancouverians...
Vancouverites.
Vancouverites, that actually makes a lot more sense. They love to hire other Vancouverites. In fact, they have...
Well, they have a government policy for that.
Right, exactly. That's what it is.
Well, it's true here, too. Like, we can't just come down and go like, we're going to start working in Los Angeles now. You Canucks, get out of here. So, you're welcome and sorry, I guess?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, you had your hand up for a while.
I was just wondering, when I'm discussing Equestria Girls with my friends, like one of the first things one of the first things they'll bring up is, well, I don't like it because it had season 3.
That's not true.
That's not true at all. It did not have.
I was just curious if that was.
We knew season 3 was going to be 13 episodes before we even knew Equestria Girls was a thing.
Yeah, it was already decided upon. At first, it was like we're gonna do. At first, it was like season 3 we're gonna do 26, and then it was like actually the budget for this year is not so great. Let's just do 13 and see where it goes. And then as we got through the end of it, we were like waiting, like, are we gonna get another 13? Are we gonna get another 13? And they're like, you know what? We'll just leave it at that, and then we'll do a full one next time around.
But yeah, the way I understood it, it was they had decided on season 3 before the craze of season 1 had hit.
Yeah,
so
they were
sure. Like, we'll do 13, then we have an appropriate number that we can put into syndication. So even if the show tanks, we'll have this bank and we can sell them to Kazakhstan or whatever.
It is just enough.
So that validates, that's a big fan theory that was going around for the longest time. It's 65 is this magic number for syndicated episodes, and once they hit that, then you're in danger. People were scared because
you're not in danger.
If you start syndicating, all we're going to see is reruns because kids will put up with it.
No, I think the success of the show, because of people like all you who are in this room and who are in this building, the show will continue as long as you guys continue to watch it and spend money.
Makes the world go around.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good question. Thank you. In the back.
What's the lesson you've learned the hard way?
The hard way?
Dog cookies do not taste as good as you would think.
What?
Dog cookies don't taste as good. Oh, you mean in animation or just in life?
Don't drink too much the day before, so you have to phone in to the voice record the next day.
Jason learns
From
that
the
after
bedroom.
every Christmas party. He forgets in the 364 days prior, and then the Christmas party.
Oh, I'll be fine tomorrow. I'll just have another one.
Oh, guys, I'm really sick today. Oh, but we have a show to make.
Alright. Yeah, I learned that one the hard way.
Well, if you can't take off sick, well then how do you go on these vacations?
It helps.
They have to move the schedule around.
Yeah, you move stuff around.
He goes on vacation, I stay.
That's why we hired him.
Yeah. But like the only way we were able to come down to this weekend is because Friday was Good Friday in Canada, and it's a day off.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
You're welcome.
We had to work a full day Thursday, get on the plane, come here.
Everybody give Jesus a round of applause.
And we'll be back to work on Monday morning, 9 a.m.
Yes.
Coming right off the plane.
We get back to Vancouver at midnight on Sunday, and we have stuff to do at 9 a.m. Yeah.
No, thank you. All right, in the back with the... Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One, when and how did you first join DHX, working there? And second question, excuse me if this is stereotypical Canadians, but favorite place to get poutine?
Poutine? Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal. If you're gonna have poutine,
do it in the
you gotta go to where it originated.
Yeah.
And Montreal is the place. You get like a smoked meat sandwich and poutine in Montreal, and then you never leave. There's lots of places in Canada, and it depends on your taste.
There's a place on Commercial Drive, the Belgian fries,
Belgian
pretty
fries,
good. Frites, they're okay.
Don't get the large, it's too big
It's
for
too
lunch.
It's Canadian sized. That maybe means it's not big enough.
Yeah.
Our portions are small.
Is this like an opposite state?
Yeah.
We're supersizing everything.
Yeah.
You guys are,
Half it.
sorry sizing.
The sorry size.
Sorry size.
Yeah,
Or A size.
sorry size, eh?
Oh no, sorry, it's size A.
Yeah. What size would you like? Would you like sorry or A?
Hoser? Yeah.
Your other question was how did we get started at DHX? In Vancouver, you know, the animation industry is quite small. There's a lot of different studios, and their schedules can be, you know, the contract can be quite short, 6 months, 4 months, 8 months. So we all kind of like, at least in my experience, you were 10 years in one place.
That's weird.
Yeah, but we get, you know, sort of traded around at different studios as the schedules sort of end. And they actually start scheduling them according to like, oh, if we end our schedule here, we can get, you know, we can let these guys go to the other studio. But when I got started, it was basically just applied, and it was Studio B at the time.
What year was that? It was 2004, you said, right?
No.
I'm just going to throw out other numbers, 2003.
Like 1999 or
Been there
2000. Not concurrently.
Oh, I see.
I would be there for like 6 months and I'd go somewhere else. But since 2004, I've been there concurrently. And that was when Puka got greenlit. And that was my first directing gig.
I finished up at AK in 2008, and it was a really crappy year in the industry once
Oh
I
yeah,
got
I
out.
remember that year.
There was like no work.
No work.
You say 2008?
2008
Oh, that
was
was
the
the big
dead
recession.
year. Yeah, it was very coincidental.
Yeah, and I was really desperate for work, and they phoned me up and they said, like, I know you had sort of done boards on like a big network TV show, but do you want to do on-call revisions for Martha Speaks? I was like, can I have money to eat? And they said, I guess. And I was like, okay. And then I was sort of in and out there for a little while because there'd be work for a bit, and then they'd be like, well, we don't have anything for it. And then they'd be like, oh, I'll just go live in my car for a while. And then that turned into doing boards on Kid vs. Cat Season 2. And then right after that, Pony was starting just as we were finishing Kid vs. Cat, and someone left on Pony, and that's how I started there.
Yeah, 2008 I was out of work for most of the year too. I got asked on to Martha Speaks to be an animator, and I was just like, finally some work. And my wife was giving birth right around that time, our first child, and I was like, I have a baby on the way, I don't have any job, what am I gonna do? So I took whatever I could get at the time, and then, you know, after a few months of Martha, that's when Pony came up, and they were like, would you like to be a director? And I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? Pony. Okay, and then they showed me the materials, and I'm like, okay!
I think that's like a common story for all of us. I know when they approached me to do that first board, I was like,
just come in, really? You don't need to, just take a look at it, it's good.
And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, I think I can. Yeah. Well, you want to still be cool and macho, and you're like, I guess for a girls' show, it's pretty cool.
Just hearing Lauren's name being associated with it at first, it was like, well, I'm gonna work with her, so
absolutely.
whatever it is, I'll come in. So that was a really great thing.
Yeah. Now follow-up question, of course, so he went the stereotypically Canadian route, and so I'm going to go the stereotypically American route, and you said in and out a second ago, and we were talking about poutine, so let's talk about food.
Clearly I like it.
So when I was in Vancouver, I binged on poutine, right, because that's what you get. So
I guess. The sushi in Vancouver is better than the poutine.
And so much cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's wrong with the best in the world?
Sushi in places you're not used to. It's weird.
It's a
You don't have to worry in Vancouver. Just do it.
The tap water's really clean there. Yeah, all right.
It's Canada. It's like everyone gives you back rubs when you go to a restaurant.
It was very friendly.
You get a beer at the hair salon.
What?
Yeah, well,
Actually,
that's true. That's true.
I thought you had to get all your beer at the beer store.
Yeah. At the bar, sometimes you can get it.
Depending
on which place.
Anyway, sorry, your story.
Well, no.
Sorry.
So my question was, it's all right. My question was, what is it here that you have to get when you get here? While you're in the States?
It used to be that we would make runs down to Bellingham to get crazy cereal that we couldn't get. We're like, Frankenberry. Because it has like spent uranium casings in it.
It's illegal in Canada.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's going to kill people. That's not allowed across the border.
No.
And then we would
smuggle them.
Yeah. Jason would come over and be like, his pants were bulging.
Why do you look so square?
So you just trade exotic cereals for gallons of Tim Hortons?
Yeah. I don't know. It was usually just weird food that we couldn't get back home. Be like, oh, In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
I've never had that before. And then
It's hamburgers.
And it's like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, they still have hamburgers.
Yeah, we have
we have hamburgers.
But not usually the beer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The beer here, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
The
Canadian beer is pretty good.
Canadian beer is higher alcohol percentage.
Yeah.
So we come down here and have your alcohol water.
Barley pop.
Barley pop.
Barley pop.
Or the wobbly pops. We call that too.
All right, next question over here. All right.
Someone ask a bad question. I want to shake.
Yeah, he's getting off.
Whatever you were thinking of asking, just throw it out and switch it for who's your favorite comic.
So,
Stand up.
Stand up.
We get a look at you.
So, seeing as your show has a lot of plot lines with some definite ends, like the cutie mark crusaders wanting to get their cutie marks, or that Rainbow Dash wants to join the Wonderbolts, and the one you've already completed of Twilight is a princess, love interest is Saint Celestia. Do you see your show more as a Breaking Bad style, okay, this is our final season, we have a conclusion? Or do you see your show more as we are the Simpsons, we are South Park, we're going to keep this going for 30 years and keep
Are
this
you
money?
asking for spoilers?
That's actually
No, that's actually a good question. That's a good question.
I think it
And as
is.
a follow-up, why is Applejack background pony?
Okay. Wait a second.
Terrible question.
Yeah. I think we have your.
Okay. Applejack is the best pony. That was a bad question, right, everybody? That's all. Boo him. Now to your good question.
Well, obviously, as long as Hasbro keeps ordering more, we'll find a way to keep making them, continue.
Well, but do you see yourself, and I guess the question is, do you see yourself as Breaking Bad, kind of a...
About meth?
Yeah. We have to cook, Pinky. Do you ever see yourself tying up the loose ends? Everybody likes resolution. Obviously, each season sort of has its own little mini-story, like Dexter.
Well,
right.
Yeah, but every loose end you tie up, reveals a new thread.
Right.
Like with Twilight becoming a princess, that's not the end. That's the beginning.
Right.
Now is her journey as a princess.
But we
learning
also
how to, fly. That's a new skill for her.
We also do a thing though that because sometimes we don't know if we're going to get more, we try to treat it as, can we end the season in a way that is satisfying?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go on
For whatever
reason, it still works.
Yeah.
So at the end of season 2, we had a lovely wedding. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
There's still things we could continue to explore, and we did. But at the end of season 3, Twilight became a princess. It's maybe not what you wanted, but we did it. Deal with it. But if it had ended there, that to me was still a satisfying conclusion. She worked towards something, she had achieved it.
Yeah.
Okay, but now it's like you said, it's the beginning. What does this mean for her now and her friends? So, well, that's what season 4 is kind of exploring.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks or 4 weeks, when you see the end of season 4.
No spoilers!
No spoilers. But let me tell you what happens.
Don't worry, I have the off switch.
But in the way we talked about it, we feel satisfied with the arc we kind of created this season. We feel like it offers some conclusions. Some of the questions people have had this season will be answered.
Like what's in the box?
Apparently it's nachos according to Pixel Kitties.
Yeah. You guys.
It's actually just another smaller locked box.
Yeah.
That's season 5.
Spike got into it earlier and just was storing. He was trying to hide the nachos he made for the kids before.
Yeah.
Like, how did this get in here?
Actually, that's what in the box is season 5.
What? It started?
It's just like this weird infinity mirror.
But yeah, like, you know, in a way, you can see every ending as a beginning to a new adventure. Like, you know, whoever, you know, whatever happens to Rainbow Dash, she's gonna have to deal with that and learn new things. So don't ever really feel like it's done.
And as long as we're still enjoying making the show, and Hasbro is still willing to let us make the show, and we feel that there are stories worth telling, and I think you guys have seen the writers, they have tons of stories they want to tell.
You got a really good team of writers, don't worry.
We'll keep doing it. So, cool. Again, you're welcome.
All right, let's see. Let's shake it up. All right, over here on the right, in the page.
Oh yeah. How much influence does Hasbro have over you and you over the writers? Like, could you explain like the creative process?
Well, I mean, the writers will come up with episode ideas, and sometimes Hasbro execs will come up with that. Sometimes we'll come up with it.
Yeah.
It comes from, you know, any one of us, because we know all together what we're all trying to from a premise stage. So we might just propose something like, well, what about
the Pinkie Pie fell down this week?
Yeah. Oh, we can write a story around that. Yeah, like we don't have like we don't have pull over them or anything like that. Like it's, you know, we're all working together. It's a collaborative process. So someone proposes an idea, we all listen to it and like, hey, how about this? How about that? No, that doesn't feel right for us. Or, you know, oh, Hasbro doesn't like this direction because they want to do something with brand or whatever. So a good idea can come from anywhere. So there's no one really at this stage lording over anyone else.
And the Hasbro executives, to their credit, have been so supportive of letting us try crazy stuff.
All right, raise your hand if you're a Hasbro executive, because clearly there are some.
Well, there's a lot of people, but there's, you know, some of you probably follow them on Twitter, like Mike Vogel,
Brian
Leonard, the Wheel of Cheese on Twitter, and NK2 on Twitter. Those guys are fantastic.
Yeah, we love them. We love working with those guys.
Not only are they great dudes, but they are our biggest supporters.
Yeah.
You can see from their tweets about the show.
Yeah, they love the show as much as you guys.
They're as excited as us watching the show, yeah.
Let's just put it this way. Mike Vogel went to Burning Man dressed as Rainbow Dash. That's how much that man loves the show.
He puts every single song that Daniel makes on his workout iPod shuffle.
Wow.
You know,
now he's going to get tackled at the gym.
Yeah.
He's got songs like that aren't going to be coming out for a while.
Does Mike Vogel actually like a role model for us to live by? Wow.
Absolutely. Have you seen that? He's cut. He is cut.
He's ripped.
And that guy embodies friendship. He can make a friend anywhere, anytime, with anyone.
Jayson,
seen it happen.
we've seen it, yeah.
He can make friends with anybody.
He would come in here and he would sit here and then he would say hello and then be like, oh hi, and know everyone by name and you'd be like, well, it's a magic trick. And it's crazy how personal that guy is.
Mega charming man.
Now, do you guys remember what the big idea is? Who had them? Do you have it in the back of your head? Like, do you remember who has? Like who has like some big storyline? Like you remember, like, oh, I remember that.
Well, sometimes it changes, right? Like I know Jayson and I have proposed a few things over the years, and we had a nugget of an idea, and then Megan or Amy or Mitch or Josh or someone takes it, and it becomes something else entirely, but it's way better than the dumb thing we came up with.
Yeah.
So I mean, they are great at sort of taking our poop and polishing it into shiny, shiny nuggets.
So like Mitch can take your idea and give it wings, so to speak.
So to speak. And then we take it back and then make it fly.
Teach it how to fly.
Awesome. All right, next question. All right, we got a couple of really patient people here in the back, and right at wiggling hand, which I know is not.
How about the yellow hat?
Yeah, yellow hat.
Or it's orange, Jayson.
The light is terrible.
Yeah.
He's dressed as the best pony.
There you go.
Yes.
So what inspired you guys to become directors?
You know, when I started in animation, I never really had a aspiration to be a director. I just thought, you know, that's totally out of my league. That'll never happen. I'm just happy to be animating. That was my life's goal right there. And it's only like over time, as I was working on shows and seeing the process, and I'm starting to have opinions about how things should be done. And
He became a loudmouth.
yeah, I don't like the way this is edited, or whatever. But and over time, I just got more and more interested in it. And it wasn't until like I had gotten experience like supervising animation and sort of further up the chain. And then when Puka came along, I saw that was a proposal in the studio, and I knew the little shorts from the web. I was like, oh, I want to work on that show. I gotta make that show happen. And I just, you know, went to our HR department. I was like, we have to get this show, and I'm gonna direct it. And it was just because I liked the idea, and I had ideas of how to do it. And I just kind of like strong-armed my way in. And they said, well, we're not sure we can get this, so if you can do the test that gets us the show, yeah, sure, you can direct whatever that is. Because our boss didn't really know what it was, so I just was like, it's mine, I'm gonna make this. And then after that, I just got hired as a director, and I was like totally in shock of what I had to do now, and then I just learned because I had to. And then I just sort of became a director. I never thought it would last. I thought, oh, let's do one season, and they'll bump me back down to animator.
I'm still convinced I'm going to get fired.
I hang it over his head every day.
Yeah, he does. I've mowed his lawn so many times. My story's kind of similar. Like, I didn't even know I wanted to be a storyboard artist, and then when I ended up at AKA, that's what they were doing, and I fell in love with just storytelling. And I just wanted to become better and better at storytelling, and moving to being the board director, or board supervisor on Pony and Season. Can someone turn down that bass?
Yeah.
Being able to
He's an old man.
I am, guys. Is it dinner time? I gotta go to bed. Being able to sort of influence all the stories in a season was great, and then when Jayson and the rest of the production decided they wanted to give me a crack at directing, it's like, oh, I can see it through all the way to the end? Yes, please, even though it's terrifying. It's not something I necessarily said, this is where I want to be, as much as it's like, I just want to be good at the thing I'm doing now, and if something happens, cool. But if not, at least I'm doing the best I can in the job I'm in.
And the way we do things at the studio, and probably everywhere it's like this, you know, you're not just thrust into the fire with no help. Like when I got on Puka, I had a supervising director above me. I was an assistant director, and he kind of like took the brunt of, you know, the heavy lifting in terms of, you know, dealing with the networks and being on phone calls and giving suggestions on scripts. And I just sort of learned under him, and you know, he took me under his wing, and then we do the same thing with anybody else.
Yeah, Jayson has really helped shepherd me through this season.
So like, if he's struggling with something, I give him some support, and like we help each other. Yeah. So there's always someone else to kind of lean on a bit, and you know, the studio's really good about being supportive, and you know, if we like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I need some help, and they'll find a way to accommodate that. They want people, they want to set us up
they want us to succeed.
Not to fail. Yeah.
Sure. That's a very refreshing approach both of you have about this. It's just sort of take what life gives you and do it well.
Well, it's not that you shouldn't have a goal, per se.
No, of course, right.
But it's good to have a goal, but don't forget where you are in the moment. And be the best you can be where you are now.
And actually, that's a good point. Like, sometimes you get, when you're at a big studio, and there's a lot of shows like DHX, they move you around to keep you working, because nobody wants to be out of work. Because when the show's over, what are you gonna do? Well, you can go on to a different show. And but sometimes the show you're, put on isn't exactly to your style. Maybe you don't really like it, but it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter. You still do the best job you can do.
We always
and make it good
we work
for you.
on.
Yeah, make it good. Make yourself happy always first, and then other people will notice that. It's like what we did with ponies. We want to make this really good because we just love making good stuff.
Oh, we want to make a show that we would watch.
Yeah, I want to do this because I like it.
And we are the arbiters of taste.
Well, we're also trying to please Lauren.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We still have conversations to this day about how would Lauren handle this issue. What do her characters? How would they react in these situations? Like her legacy is still prevalent in the show.
Wow. So a lot of WWE.
Yeah, for sure. It's always in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about notes I received from her, and I still have kept them all. And I just kind of keep it in mind, how would she have done this? And we put our own spin on it, of course, but there's always that.
Yeah, if she were to watch the show, she may not always agree with the choices we make, but we do try our darndest to make sure that what we do is true to the characters and the spirit of the show and the things that we've established before.
Yeah. I think as fans, we sort of exhale finally after a few years when we hear things like that. We think, oh, it's keeping the legacy, it's keeping the same passion. It's obviously got people who care a lot about it, who are running the show.
But you guys are going to flip when they go into space next season.
There's people that have been on the show since day one, like myself and
Leslie, our
production manager. It's like she and I have been on since day one, and an unbroken chain of time. So we're just trying to just keep doing the same thing we've been doing all along, and without.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But with always making improvements, we're always trying to improve ourselves, and but it's always better quality. How can we just make this more entertaining, more fun, more cool to watch?
Would you say 20%?
Guys, I said to me.
Everyone,
that was a bad question.
Because it wasn't a question.
It wasn't a question.
It was a question. Yeah,
that was a bad statement.
That was a bad.
Okay.
All right. Next question. Guy in the brony shirt.
That's everyone.
Actually, you know what? Let's get a female perspective on something. Sure. Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I'm here, but I'll stand anyway. So you have a script. Everybody's picturing it slightly differently in their heads. Who's making the decision when about this is a close-up, Rainbow Dash is flying left to right?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, not entirely.
He does sometimes.
The final decision does rest with us.
Yeah.
But we like to give the storyboard artist and the storyboard supervisor the opportunity to put their stink on it.
That's an animation term. It doesn't mean what you think.
Yeah, it's just purely technical. You guys wouldn't understand.
But yeah, when we have our handout meetings with the board artists, we spend a good 2 to 3 hours. We go over every little nuance of the script, and we try to suss out okay, this is the kind of thing we want to do here and here, and we just give them ideas and suggestions. And some things well, we have to hit this because that's a story point. Make sure we see this. It's important. And we just get all on the same page, and then they give their suggestions. But then from there, they go off and do their
They do their spin on it.
And what we get back sometimes is different than what we had originally proposed or suggested.
Most of the time, it's better.
Yeah, it's better because they've spent the last 2-3 weeks thinking specifically about that. We're off to the next episode. We after that meeting, we don't think about it again. And they sit there and they agonize over it for that time, and then they come back and they go, "Do you like me?" They were like, "Change that." No, but sometimes you go well, that wasn't really what we were talking about, but it's not wrong. It's just your way, and that's
your way is wrong.
Your way is wrong.
Right now, everybody boo the writer.
Yeah. No.
It's not booing the writer. It's
I'm kidding.
the cool thing about working in this way is that it's like having one person with 7,000 brains working on the show. So ultimately, Jayson and I get to sort of oversee everything and play Lord and Master with everything, but everyone from the storyboard artist and the layout people and the design people put a little bit of themselves in the show. This is how I would deal with Rainbow Dash in this moment. This is how I think Pinkie Pie would wear this sweatshirt.
And sometimes they come up with something that was never thought of before, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, that's a really cool idea. Hey, you know, maybe we do that here, we can reprise that later again, and oh, that creates a new little mini arc with this character, and it wasn't in the script, but it like adds a bit of a layer. And so we might like change some things elsewhere in the script to accommodate that one little nugget of an idea.
And sometimes the storyboard artists come up with these ideas that aren't scripted that are the best thing ever.
Yeah,
and they become these weird little things that you guys latch onto, and they become even bigger things.
I was just thinking of something that hasn't aired yet, and I should.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful with that when you're in a season like that.
But well, we've told this story before, but bulk biceps, you know, it used to be called Snowflake.
Amongst you guys, I didn't have a name for him.
Yeah, he didn't have a name in the script because he wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
Jayson and myself, and I think it was Raven Maltzy, who now works on Steven Universe, were in a thumbnail meeting, and we were joking around during this bit of where Rainbow Dash is having that meeting, and we're like, "Is somebody in the audience just keep going, yeah!" Every time Rainbow Dash says, "We're gonna do this, right? Yeah!" And then it just became more and more ridiculous.
And then Jayson was like, "Yeah! It should be this like big, you know, bulky guy."
And we're like, "Let's try this insane thing! We'll put it in the show, because Hasbro will never let us do it." But
we'll just put it in this joke.
They'll get a laugh, and then we'll say, "Take it out." And then they were like, "Oh, we have an issue with the way that Applejack's standing later on." And then we're like, "The strong guy? You don't want a strong guy?" And then it aired, and we were like, "Okay." And now in season 4, he got...
How he actually has a part in the show.
Yeah. And he's shown up a couple times, and it's super cool.
It's just things can grow out of that.
I mean, you told me, like in season 1, Vinyl, or DJ Pone 3, one panel in her first appearance. Not in the script, it was a party. The board artist, Mike West, was like, "I'll put a DJ in here."
Yeah.
And then all you crazy kids went,
Never would have
now she has like an Equestria Girl short to herself.
Amazing.
That's
all these
and you know,
figures.
and that is a testament to you guys, because nobody else, and in our, like on our side or Hasbro side, would have ever thought twice about that shot.
Yeah, that pony probably never would have come back.
But just because of the fandom latching on to that thing and just taking it and expanding on it and loving it and nurturing it, and then Hasbro was looking at that and going like, "Oh, they really like this thing, well, maybe we should do something with that." I mean, it takes a while for that to come back to you, but you know, they do notice.
In some ways, that character kind of predates Derpy as the original fan.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go there, but...
I mean,
I was going to say, the last time you
so.
guys tried to get a fan favorite character name, that didn't quite go.
Water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge.
Guys, we're not here to talk semantics. We're talking about a DJ pony. A pony who plays DJs, and I mean records.
I'm imagining a pony like two DJs.
You spin those two, and you spin those two. You stop, you go.
You stop. All right. Questions over here. All right, so back there, you're actually kind of like past you. Yeah. Gray's great. Yeah, you just hold your hand up.
How long have you been an alcoholic? Just kidding. We're alcoholics.
I didn't mean me.
Yeah.
I heard that there was once an idea to give Big Macintosh his own episode where instead he would not talk at all, simply conveys it solely through his facial expressions like Gromit did on Walls and Gromit.
But that was a comic book. They did it as a comic book. Run by Andy Price, written by Katie Cook, that you can buy. I don't remember if that was ever proposed.
I don't think so.
I think that's purely just, I mean, it's awesome in the comic because you can see his thought and you can see what he's thinking. But I don't think it was ever.
I don't think so. No, I never saw that premise come through. I don't think.
Kind of like a Wall-E.
And I think it would be a cool, like, 2-minute short. I think for 22 minutes at the end, you'd be like, just say something.
And then at the very last scene, he would.
Yeah, you go, goodbye, baby. Yeah.
Maybe.
Baby. Undecided.
And also, why does it seem like everybody's hell-bent on keeping me from making a complete sentence like you're
Because it's funny.
Full sentences.
He's said a few full sentences.
He's had his speech.
Have you not seen the Hearts and Hooves Day? He says,
Yeah.
poops. He says all sorts of stuff. We just sort of look at him as like, he's the strong silent type. He doesn't.
It's actually more interesting that way, I think.
I mean,
And then you can play off of it later when, you know, you do an episode where he suddenly just blurts out a whole bunch of stuff and it means something. All of a
right, it
sudden.
has more impact.
Yeah.
Which is what they did. I mean, yeah, Applejack says yup and no, and then.
And it's super funny, right?
Yeah, it's way better.
We've done like 2 full seasons of yup, nope. And then he's like, well, let me tell you about Tolstoy's War and Peace. And then, whoa, there's something more there.
Next.
I was wondering if you could tell us about something that you really loved that had to get cut. Maybe that you killed that you remember.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, we may want to repeat the question.
And she wants to know the names of babies who have died.
We named
Not what she said. Yeah.
She wants to know
Do you remember any
things that we loved that we had to leave on the cutting room floor. Well, sometimes it's not. Some of them get resuscitated. Like,
well, you guys have an idea.
Yeah, like in
with
too many pinkie pies, the G1 face.
Right.
Look at this, the craziest face I can make, and then it turns around and it's G1 pinkie pie.
That wasn't the first time that it was proposed.
Board artist Scott Underwood proposed that in another episode in season 1, and for whatever reason, it was like it either didn't go through or didn't. It was a hilarious idea, but didn't quite fit.
Yeah.
And then we tried it again in season 2, same thing. And by the time, like, we tried it again in season 3, and it was the perfect spot to put it.
It's probably the only spot it'll ever happen.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes we have like a bin, not a metaphorical bin, a brain bin of the ideas. And we're like, oh, remember that weird thing? Remember that weird thing? It fits here like a Lego piece.
Yeah, not all ideas can fit in that, you know, the story at the time you propose it, but we kind of keep it in the back of our mind and like, oh, maybe we'll save that for later. Maybe something might come up down the road. There was one scene in Luna Eclipse where Rarity dresses Luna up as a pink princess. It was all boarded out, but we just didn't have the room for it.
It was sad.
That was one part. Was like, this is really. It
was super funny. It was great.
We had to make a big decision there. It's like,
it's a joke. It's a lovely joke. The interaction is fantastic. Tabitha nailed it. It was written well. It was designed gorgeously, but it wasn't integral to the story.
Yeah. And we want to see take out
this. We want to spend more time with the scary stuff and setting up Nightmare.
We have to think of like the larger picture. So sometimes we have to like make a judgment call.
Would you say an executive decision?
None of the time.
No, that's right. That was
All right. Yeah. Next question. Up here. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why are you wearing socks?
It's California, dude.
All right.
So outside of lighter note, what's the best waterproof talk in the office?
What a bad question.
Waterproof talk?
It's a bad question. I want to boo more.
You might have won the boo.
Boo!
that this is, you know, but you have to remember that this is still a job for you guys. Now, of course, to us, it just sounds like we get to fly places with your boss and make funny jokes in front of loving fans. That seems like something I could do.
Guys, we're professionals, okay? Not everybody can do this and make fart jokes in public. It takes big men. Big men.
Big man.
Well then.
We talk about the same things that everyone talks about. Like Jayson, we're like, oh, you watch Breaking Bad? Yeah, I watch Breaking Bad. Oh, you watch Game of Thrones, Red Wedding? Oh my God! Like, we talk about dorky stuff. Jayson and I talk about science stuff. Like, we're super stoked on Cosmos. Jason's always like, I was listening to NPR the other day, and did you know the fact that...
You can't listen to NPR, that's an American public.
We can get all sorts of stuff on
you don't pay those taxes.
Oh, sorry. We were listening to CBC radio. They were talking about Degrassi Junior High.
Which I think DHX owns now.
Did you know Joey Jeremiah wore his... that's a deep pull for somebody.
Anyway.
We just talk about all sorts of silly things. We talk about the world. It's the same stuff that anyone talks about. We're just dudes. A couple of dudes, bros, hanging out. Slapping each other on the backs. Talking about hairstyles and how I can't have one.
Next question.
Over here. I picked on you.
Yeah. So what's going on with the Wilhelm scream in MLP nowadays?
Have you been not able to find it?
Is it a thing that it's there a lot?
It's been roughly about 40% of the most recent episodes.
Our sound, that is kind of a long-standing tradition with sound
Audio
guys. Right. It's a tradition. You go and you watch a lot of action movies, it's in there somewhere. Sometimes you don't always hear it. And they're just following that tradition. And sometimes it kind of works. And there's been a few times where like
we've actually pulled it out a couple of times.
It's too distracting.
This is taking away from the narrative.
It's their it's the same way that we want to put our little stamps on things. We try to give everyone down the line the position to do fun things that are fun for them.
Like giant, disgusting fart noises on Twilight Sparkle. Just for fun, just for us.
Yeah, in the mix
we'll be watching the show and
I'll turn around and be and Jayson and I being juveniles are like cut it.
It happens. It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun place to play.
Usually if we're listening to it and it's really, really pronounced or distracting, we'll ask for it to be taken out. But sometimes it's just buried in the background and it's...
Not the farts.
Oh, not the farts. Are we talking about the scream still?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which I don't know if everybody knows what the Wilhelm scream is. I don't know if it's
like from an old movie in the... No, it's from an old black and white cowboy movie. There's a guy who got shot off a building with... It's just every time, like, if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's in there. That's the best place to find it, when they run off the road when Indy's chasing them in the horse and they go off the cliff that just appears in that movie. But yeah, and it's in a lot of...
criticizing Indiana Jones?
No, The Raiders is a perfect movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in a lot of Spielberg stuff. It's in a couple Star Wars movies. It's Star Wars. It's a lot of like I think Ben Burtt was a big fan of it, and he sort of brought it back as the sound designer for a lot of Lucasfilm stuff.
You see a lot of little subtle things, like if you actually notice, it's super.
Is there an earthquake going on?
It's the kids
California is always there.
It's the kids nowadays with their
Doochy Doo
wub step music. DJ mixers.
Perfect.
Yeah, but like even just like little things, like this is me being a nerd. I'm sorry. I know I'm not in like-minded company, but the little sweeps sometimes when you transition from scene to scene, it sometimes makes that same little Star Wars.
Lucasfilm?
Yeah, it's kind of like.
Let's put it this way: Jayson and I were born at the perfect time. I was born in 76, Jayson was born in 77. Oh, we are children of Star Wars and Raiders and all that stuff, so...
had his Star Wars bottle.
Yeah, we, you know, we're pop culture fiends.
Yeah, I'll just fill my pipe. I got an example of Wilhelm.
Oh, I was like, what? I have an auditory hallucination? Did we miss it? Shut up. There it is. So now that if you didn't know what that was before, every time you watch the show,
you're gonna hear it.
Oh, there it is.
You'll hear like dramatic scenes of serious movies too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then you hear that like,
You're like, oh, take it out of the scene now.
That's it. Thanks, fourth wall. Alright.
Next.
Yeah. Have you guys ever submitted something to Hasbro just for it to be rejected, and then you have to go back and revise it? And if so, can you give an example?
Like, rejected on purpose?
Like, do we deliberately give them something crappy?
Something you know they wouldn't like just see if you could get away with it?
Well,
yeah, like some of those jokes were like, not that we're like, well, these are bad jokes. It's more of a thing of like, we like this, but too far. Yeah, we may have pushed the envelope too far.
But we don't want to self-edit too much, because like sometimes, you know, if you do that, then you miss an opportunity. Because there has been times where like the odd thing is like, this might be too much, let's not do it. And then somewhere down the line in a phone call, we sort of joke about what we might have done. They were like, that would have been okay.
Why didn't you do that?
Why didn't you do that? And like, I didn't think I could. But you know, sometimes it's almost better to ask for forgiveness
than permission.
Yeah, isn't there there's an anecdote actually about back in the days, season 1, about how they thought that Egghead, calling Twilight an Egghead, it was a little too much.
Right, yeah.
There are certain, I mean, every episode has to go through broadcast standards and practices,
Yeah.
and they have rules that about what we can and can't say or what they deem appropriate, and sometimes they're weird to us, but they make the choice for a specific reason.
Yeah, sometimes like ones that's weird to me is like that object is too sharp. Can you make it more dull? It's like, you know that's a drawing, right? It's not going to poke anybody. It's not going to hurt the children on the screen. But they have their own reasons for it, and they're protecting their own interests. And so we have
most
to
of the time
that.
they're fairly benign requests. Like dull the edges on that drawer. It's like, okay.
It's not going to hurt the scene.
No.
I think that actually has something to do with how Scootaloo, every time she rides her scooter, wears a helmet.
Right.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But we like to
It's a
take
part of
that
that
thing where they say, like,
practices, right?
please make sure that the ponies are wearing safety gear. So, like, if you look at Pinkie Pie in the Mod Pie episode, when she's wearing her safety gear, it's like a helmet and ski goggles and a snorkel. And, like,
we find a way to make it fun.
Make it funny. Like,
so that you don't feel like this was just tacked on. Or it's like a part of the story.
Push it further. Make it a joke.
Like in the Apple, in the what was it?
Pinkie Apple
Pie, sorry. And where they're all wearing their life preservers. Of course, we have to put them in life preservers on the wrap. But we thought, like, well, with Big Mac, he's got that thing around his neck. The yoke. Why don't we just put the duck on there? Like, it's funny. He's wearing a life preserver. It's just shaped like a duck. And then it's,
we had that drum, like we had it from another thing, and we threw it on him, we're like, okay, go.
And in that way, it just feels more natural and organic with the story, and gives you a little chuckle.
Yeah, the awesome thing is, Jayson and I laugh a lot working on the show.
Too much.
Yeah, too much. Trying to come up with crazy, funny things, and sometimes they work awesome, and sometimes there's jokes where we're like, wait till they see that, and then nothing. No one got it. It's not funny. Or someone on a commenter was like, dumbest joke ever.
You never know what.
You say that one comic book guy.
Oh yeah.
I found it to be very shallow and pedantic.
Yeah, you gotta just try everything that makes you happy, and then, some people get it, some people don't, and you just, take it in stride.
But the feeling when people get your jokes, though.
It's wonderful.
The best.
It's really,
the best.
really wonderful.
The best.
Yeah, and we were talking about this earlier today, but speaking of jokes everybody liked, one of Jayson's here was Pinky's brain is
Yeah. The felt stop motion.
She just pulls out of nowhere a felt checkbox.
That joke was mine at the end.
Yeah,
he did the felt stuff, and then once I saw that, I'm like, oh, we have to end the act with a callback to that.
You have to like, oh, shit.
Yeah, so funny.
So both of you get credit for that.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I was like, well, we have to make that check mark felt too.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of
so it's
check
just
mark
like,
is she gonna pull up? So
there's a lot of like, oh yeah, well take this.
I dare you.
Yeah. And I mean, once that felt thing had been so well received, Jason's like, I really want to do something like that again.
Yeah.
And then he was looking for the perfect opportunity to do that, and that's where live action Boneless came from.
Yeah.
Pinky Pride. He made that in his house with his wife, and made it out of balloons and rice.
Balloons and rice, and hot glue. Which doesn't stick to balloons very well, so it's all falling apart.
And he came in the next day and he's like, check this out. I don't know if we can use it. The string broke, and it just fell.
I did 2 takes, and that was it.
And the puppet broke like his leg fell off.
Well, hopefully it's high definition enough.
And literally, when we cut it in, he's like, okay, cut to this very last frame before the leg falls off.
That's when the next frame falls off. I'm not a puppet maker. It was just an experiment. It was fun to do.
And it's super funny.
But I tried to find a real rubber chicken that you buy in store, and I went to all these different places because I was determined. People were like, you're crazy, what are you trying to do? And I'm like, no, this can work. And
that's what we have with us, and they go, you're crazy, and we're like, oh, you're not fishing me.
I know it can work in my head, I just gotta do it. So we go to all these like joke shops, and I find like all the rubber chickens, and I'm like, looking at each one, and I'm like shaking it, and, no, too stiff, no, that wrong face, I don't like it. And I was like, what I really want is one that looks like boneless, and I couldn't find anything appropriate, so I'm just like, I think I'm going to have to build him. And then I was like, I spent like a few nights like up at night and not sleeping, trying to like figure out like how am I going to make this happen and look like him on screen. And my wife was like, oh, look bad.
Everyone's going, is it really worth it for one?
Oh, I can do it! And there were a few failed attempts, but I figured out the good formula, and yeah, I think it turned out.
Did you guys like it?
Yeah!
There you go. It was worth it.
And so the other idea was I wanted to like find an actual caiman lizard or something like that to represent Gummy, and I was going to build like a little Ponyville set out of cardboard and actually film it. And so I was like going around. There's a lizard sanctuary in Delta near Vancouver, and I was like looking at the website, calling, do you have any caiman lizards around this size? And they're like, no, we only have nukes.
Also, can I put them in a cardboard set? Can I take them to my house for a little while? Just hang out? We're gonna make a movie.
Can you sign an NDA?
But you're going to these pet stores and you're just shaking these alligators.
This one's moving too much. But I couldn't find. I had a hard time. I couldn't find the right one. I ran out of time too, so I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to go to stock footage, I guess. So I spent the night on the internet looking for the perfect Gummy footage.
Well, he brought in like 3 clips, and we spent a lot of time going,
Now this guy's nice, but
he's blinking too much.
Too much.
This guy,
I don't like his attitude.
He doesn't love the camera. This guy.
No. His face is a little mean.
Yeah.
I can just picture like the Getty images, people being like, really?
We paid for it, don't worry.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, we just got a sale for the alligator picture from my little What's
going on with that?
Built to DHX? Really? Is this a joke?
And Devin, the producer, oftentimes we'll go and we're like, we got this crazy idea, and he just rolls
closing
his eyes
the door.
and he's like,
all right, guys.
Okay, what do you want now? We want to build this crazy thing, and then get some ponies in here, we ride them around.
He's like, look,
you can have one pony.
You can have one pony.
And you can't ride it.
If you can do it within this much time and without costing me any money or any...
On your own time.
Don't cost me any stress. No, he's a nice guy. He's great.
Very patient man.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this is my weird follow-up question here. Did you ever have to go out to an actual pony ranch for reference?
Yeah, no, you guys not know the show's motion capture? No, focus, we got that place in Delta.
Yeah, there's a place near Langley where my parents live, and my sister was taking some horse riding lessons. She loves horses, and she was riding, and we went there to go to see her do her little test. No, it was really good. She's really great. And but anyway, we were walking around. They had these like Shetland ponies that they rent out for birthday parties and stuff. And I walked by one, and then I looked. Each one has a name. I looked at one of them, and it says Applejack. And I was like, "Oh, is that a coincidence?" And I looked at the pony, and I was like, "It's a perfect analog." Blonde pony was perfect analog for Applejack. And I was like, "That's Applejack, right?"
And now we've had discussions of like, we gotta get that Applejack in the show. But we're not sure that'll ever happen. But
You're gonna commit a horse snapping?
yeah, we would take her to the studio, and we're just gonna have her like do a couple layout scenes, maybe.
Sign some autographs.
Some autographs.
Maybe we should get some glamour shots done there, like you and I. Like.
We need a mascot for the studio.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be the best Merry Christmas from DHX. Like, everybody around this actual Applejack.
We can get like Joel and Dallas, the directors of Little's Pet Shop, with all these like hamsters and stuff. And then the guys who work on Transformers are just with a mech or something. I don't know.
He doesn't know anything about
I'm dumb.
Something that's more than meets the eye.
Yeah.
Michael Bay.
Explosion.
Explosions everywhere. All right, well, we've got a little bit more time here. We've got about 10 minutes left, actually. We have a good long panel here to talk about stuff. So, you got questions?
Sorry if you might ask this already, but on the episode with working with Weird Al, how was that fun? Do you have any stories? How does it work with Weird Al?
Oh, Weird Al.
Jason got to go down.
I got to fly down to LA and meet him and direct him, which was kind of a nerve-wracking experience, because I'm a huge fan of his.
We both were.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the idea for that episode came out of a Twitter feed. I don't know how many of you know the story, but there was one time someone posted a little PMV with Weird Al's music to it, and then he commented on it on Twitter, and I saw that comment, and it just sort of, as a stupid joke in the moment, like, how would you like to, would you ever want to do a voice on the show one time? I never thought anyone would care. And it just got this huge, response online, and then like a year later, he direct messaged me randomly, and I just happened to check my direct messages that day, and I was like, Weird Al, what the? He said like, hey, sorry it took a year to get back to you, but yeah, I'd love to do it sometime. Just contact my agent. And I'm like, what?
Well, did you guys notice, like, on Pinky Pride, it was credited as story by that guy right there?
Well,
like,
yeah.
he came up with the premise of that show to work in Weird Al, and then Amy ran with it and made it crazier and awesome. But Jayson, that whole episode exists because of that moment.
Yeah, that's what prompted it all. And then I had to I kind of was sitting on it for a while because we were already halfway through and had all the episodes written for season 3. It was season 3 when this happened. So I'm like, oh, I can't do it this season. Well, maybe next season. And so when we were, looking for episodes, I was like thinking to myself, oh, I should just write a premise, come up, I'll do a little proposal. And I just sort of on a call, I was like, well, what do you guys think of an episode where you bring in a guest star? So I pitched the idea, and they happened to like it, and I was like, well, if we don't get Al, we'll still work, with just a new character. But they actually approached him, and he agreed to do it, and it all worked out. And going down to work with Al was one of the best experiences of my life. Like meeting him in person, I was really nervous. And I was waiting for him to arrive, and I expected him to have like an entourage of people, and being all like, I am. I didn't know, and so I was just sort of waiting, and then I heard his voice in the other room. I'm like, is he here already? And I go over there, and he's just all by himself, wearing some comfortable shoes and a nice shirt, and just like, oh, there he is. He's just standing there and talking, and I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Jayson. He's like, oh, hi, my name's Al. And I'm like, I know who you are. can only be one person. But he was just like the most normal, nice, friendly guy. We were like chatting about UHF. He was telling some stories about writing that show, or that movie, and I was just like, this guy just a total bud. Like, he's just a really nice guy. And when we were recording him, he was so easygoing and like...
Yeah, like I was in Vancouver with the rest of the cast when we recorded. Jayson was in LA and Daniel was down there too. Yeah, and they were on the line at the same time, so the girls could talk to Al and whatnot. And then, you know, we recorded the majority of the episode, and I started saying like, say, it's the breeze knees. Say, I swear on Camembert. And he's like, yeah, let's do it, okay? I'll do it. And I'm like, oh, he's saying my stupid cheese puns.
So, and he was just a real good sport about the whole thing, and just took our direction really well, and tried really hard. Like he cared about making it good. And when we were recording him for the music, he was like such a trooper. We recorded with him for like hours, like almost the whole day, and we were like worried, like, do you want a break? Are you okay? And he was just like, no, keep going. Whatever you want, I'll do more takes. How do you want me to do?
He wanted to get it right.
He wanted to get it right. He wanted to get it perfect.
It was awesome. Like from what Jayson told me, he was as committed to the show and making it great as you would want him to be. Like, he was like, okay, I'm a professional. I want to treat the show with the respect that you guys have for it, so let's do it right.
Whatever we asked him to do, he was like, oh, okay, let's do that. And there was no attitude or anything. I was just like, you're like a legend, you know. You can say no.
Well, I mean, every story I've ever heard about him, it sounds like he's an amazing gentleman and a super nice guy.
Just fun.
It's nice to find out that that's true.
Yeah, and so when the episode aired, and about 10 minutes after it finished airing, I got an email from him that basically just said, I know you're probably hearing it from everyone on the internet, but I just wanted to say it was like one of the best episodes I've ever seen. I really loved it. My daughter and I were over the moon. It was the greatest thing ever, and I was just like, save. And so it was just a really, really awesome experience.
In the office sometimes he'll just bring it out and go.
But we were really lucky with that episode too. Like we got like the best board artist in Vancouver to do it, who's also a huge fan, bigger than me, and by far.
I work with Scott Underwood.
He plays the accordion.
He plays the accordion. I work with him on Ed and Eddie.
I've known him since grade 9.
Jayson grew up with him, and it was like everything just the stars aligned.
Yeah.
And it was like,
so I was like,
oh,
Scott has to board this. We have to get Scott.
And then one of our other regular board artists, Nicole Wang, was on it, and oh man, did she step up to the plate and just knocked it. Like Scott set the bar really high, and Nicole's little tiny little girl was like, okay, I will do it.
Yeah, the little Asian girl like
super nice, and she just came up with some, like, you know that scene where they're eating the giant pizza? Yeah. That was her idea. That's super funny and weird.
Really, really funny ideas. And actually, that crazy face, like that sort of the goof-off face that she makes, that was Nicole's drawing. We just matched it, and I'm like,
don't change a thing.
Yeah, and like almost like the whole goof-off song was all Scott. And
that whole thing where Cheese sticks his tongue out and there's a mouse playing the tune on it.
That's totally Scott. That's fully Scott. And the thing is, he throws and stuff like that.
There was some stuff that was just like, this is too
weird.
It's not that it wasn't fun, it's just like, but.
Yeah, but that's him. He puts in like really good, weird, funny stuff. And then we all got to go to Al's concert that was happening like in Vancouver a few months later, and that was really fun. Got to meet him again.
Yeah, and Andrea got to meet him. And
yeah, we got a photo of all of us. Long story. Sorry.
Oh, it's so Canadian to apologize after a story.
Sorry. Sorry I told you that story.
Everybody you're really interested in hearing is sorry. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's all right. Weird Al, the fact that came from like a BMV.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, you never know.
That warms my soul. It
Yeah.
makes me think like we made a difference, guys.
Yeah.
We did.
And he just happens to be friends with Will Anderson, our score composer. And
Will used to be in his band.
He was in his band. He recorded on one of his first albums and toured with him. He's credited on I think.
Dare to Be Stupid, or is it before that?
I think it was before that.
Another One Rides the Bus?
Yeah, he's credited on one of those albums. But, it was pretty cool. And he told me this, and I'm like, really? So I went and I checked. I had the CD, and I looked at the back. It's like, oh, there he is, Will Anderson. Yeah. I said that's right. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. Sorry. You gotta perpetuate the stereotype.
I know, yeah. Sorry.
There's a government mandate. When you cross the border, they're like, remember to apologize. Talk about maple syrup. Don't forget about the poutine. Hockey all the time. Say A.
Say A. Yeah.
Talk, just be like, oh, a lot of Canadian comics are, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers,
Sorry to break the bad news to you and all, but we've only got about.
You mean a boot?
I was trying to say, you actually don't say a boot, you say like a boat.
We're West Coast guys. It's very East Coast as a boot.
We have 2 minutes left in our panel time.
Who's got the best
countdown zone?
We've got time for either 6 terrible questions, or just, who's got the best?
Lightning round.
Who's confident enough in their questions?
How about yes or no questions?
How about that? Yeah, yes or no questions.
Yes or no questions, yeah.
Are you still in contact with Delancey? Because he quit Twitter a year ago.
Whoa!
What? In contact with him? Like send him Christmas cards?
Yeah.
Yes. Every year.
How was the sailing trip or whatever?
I just heard him on the Nerdist, and he said his sailing trip was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys listen to that episode of him on the Nerdist podcast?
He talks about Pony.
He talks about Pony, and
Chris Hardwick had like a nerdgasm.
Yeah.
It was cool. Good episode.
Have you ever had to cut an entire episode?
No.
Okay.
No.
Next.
Really?
Episodes have been cut, but at the script stage.
Oh, okay. Not a finished episode.
Okay. Not rendered, finished. Okay. All right.
Do they have the voice actors have lose the voices during?
Yes.
Tabitha. She lost her voice at one point.
Yeah, she was really sick, and we had to pick her up quite a time after.
We had to wait for a while.
Yeah, she had a really bad cold. Yes, sir.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you enjoy very much of the animation that comes out of the fandom?
Yes.
Next question.
All right, over there. Funny thing.
Your duck hand. You're turning around now.
I'm doing duck hand, dude.
Yeah, you do.
Have you ever considered starting a food fight?
A food fight?
Oh, with the computers we have, like at work? You mean, or right now? I don't. Next question. Sorry, Hager pie?
Pinky. What?
Hager pie. That's not a yes or no question.
Next question. That's not a yes or no question.
Yes.
What's up with potato? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, my avatar on Twitter.
He loves potato.
It's a character of mine from
A failed show pitch.
Still out there.
Yours is a thumb.
Well, have you seen my face? I actually had someone come up to me and was like, you look like your avatar. I was like, yeah.
All right. Well, it's about time that we wrap this up here at 7:45. So once again, let's hear a big round of applause.